And you got to keep open, because remember, make sure you keep open the chat. All right, well, let's get going. Again, everybody, welcome. My name is Stephen Bowles. This is John Alexander. And this is our weekly webinar. Shoflobinar is what we call it. The idea is that we're just going to dive in, jump around the app, but in particular, try to narrow it in around one particular feature. So this week we're actually going to really narrow in around the production schedule, what it takes to build a good production schedule, etc. So before I do that, though, just a little bit of an outline so you guys understand. This is going to take 30 minutes. We're going to do the 30 minutes. John's going to take us through a little bit of the high level, then we'll go into the app. We do have a couple polls, but also if you have any questions along the way, use the chat, and we'll answer those around. And then, of course, we're going to stick around afterwards for anyone who has more of a specific technical question. You can kind of stick around afterwards and we'll answer all those. So with that, excited to have you guys here. And John, why don't you take us on the high-level overview?
Yeah, great. This is just basically our marketing website. If you haven't already taken a look at it, Shoflo.tv. A little background on us, obviously coming from the live event industry, service all different types of different industries, everything from house of worship, corporates, professional sports teams and the like. The reality of live events is constant changes, and with those changes comes different forms of communication and communicating those changes in different versions across different platforms. So that can look like text messages, phone calls, emails,
Post-its,
exactly.
all of it.
And so really with teams that adopt that Shoflo workflow means that they can, all the changes, all the edits are seen instantly by everybody in real time. So that just saves a ton of time, both on pre-production phase and then also, on site for rehearsals and even accommodating those, those last-second changes up until, actually running the event.
Yeah, speaking of production schedules, it's not uncommon for us to do a demo and hear from a production company that they're on their 45th version of a production schedule and they're still a week out, right? So just that sort of email-attached workflow, versions, etc., all that stuff goes away with Shoflo.
Yep. And so if you haven't already taken a look at it or used it before, Shoflo is a web-based application, and so what that just means is that you're going to access it via the browser. So that means you're going to and then also the benefit of that meaning you can access it from different types of devices. So that's everything from a Mac to a PC to an iPhone, mobile to tablet, all the like. So it just makes getting started, getting your event team set up really easy. You don't have to invest in a bunch of products, different Mac products or PC products. They can just use their personal computers.
Yeah, most people actually end up using their own devices on show site. So you don't have to rent a bunch of iPads or anything like that.
Yep. And so the suite of tools, just to kind of give you a quick high level and we'll jump in. We'll spend most of this time actually in schedules today, but just so you have an idea about other things you can build inside of Shoflo is, one of them is Q. We also call them shows, but basically it's that kind of, run of show, Q sheet, whatever you guys kind of call it, game script if you're in sports. But it's just going to be that kind of table-based. You got your items, items on the left, durations, and then you've also got your different department columns on the right-hand side. And so that's going to be where the typical kind of run of show lives. Each user can go in, set their own personal layout, hide reorder columns. So it makes, you're no longer limited to that 8x10 sheet of paper, that print off that you used to be able to do. And then schedules is what we're going to be focusing on today. Schedules are great for creating, things like production schedules, rehearsal schedules,
offline load-in schedules, whatever it is.
Absolutely. And so it's just going to look and present like this. You can also format these to look in all different ways, but it's just going to kind of be that kind of pre-rendered PDF outlook. And then, a couple other things, lists, another kind of form looks familiar to schedules, but you can do things like video asset lists, DSM preset lists, great for crew contact lists, which obviously, depending on the size, can be, you might have a bunch of different types of teams and things like that.
I mean, the idea is anything that you would normally create in Excel, we've got a place for you to create those here. And anything you can't create in Excel, you're using Docs to drop it in.
Yep. So with Docs, you can, we accommodate all different types of file formats. But yeah, it's just a place for cloud storage for you to upload, drag and drop different types of files. So that can be, MOV files, MP3 files.
CAD drawings, PDFs, JPEGs,
Mhm.
PowerPoints, the whole thing.
Really our goal here is to help accommodate all that, that mass email that you either receive or, you send out,
Yep.
and help bring that all inside of a single event so that they just get one single invite and they have access to all these different types of files. And then really, for those larger teams, if you guys are managing multiple events or part of multiple events, we have a great kind of structure inside the app to help you manage those on a team level,
Yep.
production team level, sporting event level, different types of things. And so we've got different filters, things like custom labels. You can assign specific owners to help kind of, if you're doing a lot of different events, obviously planning all the different ones can get confusing and hard for people. So we really make that easy inside of here.
Yeah. It's awesome. All right, so then, yeah, I mean, I guess if anyone has any specific questions around those other products or softwares, let us know. We can talk about it more after we talked about though today. We're really going to kind of dial this in around production schedules. Before we do that, I'd love to ask anybody who's on the call or on this webinar, we're actually going to do a poll. So Johnny, if you can get ready, our first poll is going to be, have you ever used Shoflo before? So just real quick, hit yes or no, let us know, or maybe you've seen it or saw someone else using it. But we'd like to kind of ask this question as we go into this so we have a better idea, everybody on. So, okay, 3, 2, 1, close it, Johnny. And what do we got?
All right, let's see. So it looks like
50-50.
50-50.
That's awesome. All right, that's great. So then there's going to be some people in here seeing stuff you've seen before, but maybe hopefully you'll see kind of as I show you what and how people are using it now. That'll be helpful. And then obviously anyone who hasn't been or seen Shoflo before, this will be helpful. So let's jump in. On the left here on my browser, you can kind of see we've already went ahead and logged into Shoflo. And so, yeah, just a little bit of perspective as I enter into the production schedule. So Shoflo is built by it's made up of users, individual user accounts, including likely the few that are on the call right now. Then there are production teams, right? It's a team account. So right here I've got a production team called ABC Productions, obviously made up. And so the ABC production teams has created 2 different events, like think projects or sort of digital show books. So if you're in corporate space or whatever, this might be the IBM 2016 sales event. If it's worship, that might be your week 32 service. And if you're in sports, it might be game 56, Braves versus Rockies. So the idea is that it's very easy to create these events. And then once you create them, you're actually inviting users or your crew directly to these events. So I created one called Shoflobinar Weekly. And inside of this, I've actually invited a variety of different people. They're all sort of demo users. I can see and manage that on the left with my crew. If I just click crew, I can see my existing group of people who have access to this event. And then you can actually go in there and define their different editing permissions. So we've actually got a lot of cool quick tips around that, videos, pro tips, etc. Today, we're going to drill into the production schedule. So again, when you're building in Shoflo, if you're an admin or a producer and you hit the create button up here in the upper right, we ask you right there, you creating shows, schedules, or lists. If you're building a rundown, you're going to do a show. If you're building the DSM preset, you're going to do a list. Today we're talking about a production schedule. So with that, you would choose schedule, and then you have your choice, right? Right here we have our template manager, where you can actually choose from existing templates that we've kind of collected from customers, like samples essentially. And we call those Shoflo templates, so that you can actually say, let's build the Shoflo standard production schedule, or a blank table, or a fun one actually a friend of ours, John Allen, from the events industry came up with called a week at a glance. Or you can actually do your own custom templates, which I don't have any here, but you're able to actually, if you love the way your template's going or your particular production schedule your building's going, save it as a template, and then obviously next time you go to build, you choose that as an option. What we'll do today is we'll use the default called production schedule, right? So it's under schedules, production schedule, and then I'm just going to call this webinar production schedule. You can define a location or you can leave that blank, and then you hit create schedule. And so that places it right here. Green represents production schedules in Shoflo, right? And if you wanted to, going across the top, you could actually filter to just shows or schedules. And so here I'm seeing all of the schedules, all the lists, and all the docs. So let's drill into one. Ready? Webinar production schedule. So when you choose the Shoflo system standard template, you actually get some content in there right out the gate, right? I'll hide my private notes just because that's kind of not as relevant in schedules. You can replace this content. So I'll just sample data, but let's go ahead and jump in. The biggest things you're going to know when you look at a production schedule or just schedules in general in Shoflo is they kind of feel like a rendered PDF, and we did that by design. The idea is that these are all editable, right? You can come in and edit anything you want, but you don't have to keep, like you do in Excel, hitting File, Save as a PDF to kind of make it a little bit more presentable. We designed it to feel like a rendered PDF right out the gate. The other big thing you'll see is what we call our title rows, right? So any given row I add, if I added like a couple blank ones here, I can convert any row I want by hovering over the row on the left and clicking this little row edit menu. And then I'll see something that says convert to title row. So that's a title row in Shoflo. It's just a visually way to represent a row, and it's key. We intentionally designed that to say maybe it's dates, or maybe it's a department, or maybe it's a timestamp, whatever that is. That's sort of the idea around that. And it actually doesn't let you edit additional cells. It's just that one sort of row. And you can also set that align to the center, maybe make it a little bigger, visually kind of pop it out a little bit there.
Yeah. And for those that he's using some keyboard shortcuts, you can access that all through up at the top. There's a whole bar for bold, italicize, centering, all of that. But
exactly.
We also do, for those power users, we have a ton of awesome keyboard shortcuts to help speed up that process once you kind of get there. So
totally. All right, so let's get rid of it all except for just a couple up here. So one way I'll do that, just so you guys know, we just recently released bulk font formatting and bulk actions. So I can actually select one cell, scroll down, hold shift, and click another one down below. Then I can even hit my tilde, which is to the left of the one, and that will take me into a row selection. And then now I'm going to use my shift command delete, and there you go. I just got rid of a whole block of cells. So yeah, we have your item column right here. Right? You can also add these production notes. These are all definable by you. So if we were to build a traditional production schedule, we'd probably say this is your item column. Maybe this is your vendor notes, and then maybe the last one is more of like venue notes, right? Things you need to know for this particular venue. And so right here again, on Tuesday, November 10th, we're going to start with a crew call. And again, you want to define what your crew call is, right? So that's going to start at 6 a.m. It's a brutal one, right? We're all coming at 6 a.m. Barely got the 8-hour turnaround the night before. And so that's what crew call is. And then maybe it's sort of, let's think of it like a corporate event. You're on show site. So this is the day of a show. So this one's more of a getting set up for the morning, right? And that's going to last for 30 minutes. Adding a new row below by hitting the cog wheel, add item row below, and then we're going to do a queue to queue. So it's going to be GS day one, queue to queue. And that's going to happen for 45 minutes. And again, you're seeing me use my duration picker here. Same way it works in rundowns. Essentially, 8 a.m. plus whatever this duration is going to influence the start time of my next element. So then 8:30 plus 45, if I add an item row below, we're at 9:15 a.m. So then let's call that doors open. And then after that, we're going to say that we're in, this is the show. So this is GS day 1. So doors last for 15 minutes, and then the actual show lasts for 1 hour. So then after that, we have lunch. So again, you guys are kind of seeing how it works. Very simple. Well, let's make the things that matter really kind of stand out, right? So maybe for the actual general session, that's pretty critical. Let's use our global highlights, and we'll say that all GSs are going to be green. And just so everybody understands it, right now I'm logged in as Stephen Bowles in Chrome. If I went over to Safari, this user is a different user. His name's John Johnson, but he's actually getting all of these edits live and in real time. So those same basic functionalities of Shoflo exist, and as far as from the rundown side, also exist here. So if I was to change a global highlight, that's happening real time for all connected users. So we'll take that back to green, and let's go from there. What else can we do? Well, let's make it bold, because that really matters, and maybe even change its color a little bit. It's red. So this is like show. Well, maybe we'll say all Q to Qs are always going to be yellow. So Q to Qs represent something very important. And then maybe after lunch, we have a rehearsal for GS day 2. And maybe all rehearsals are orange. So you guys kind of get the theme here. We're creating this sort of visual, I don't know, symbolic reference as to what all these elements actually are. And so you're kind of going from there. So then we have rehearsal for GS day 2, and then maybe that happens for 1 hour. And honestly, you can get very specific here. You could say this is Jeff's rehearsal, GS day 2. I can use our new copy and paste, right? Command C, Command V. And we'll say that this is, Jane's rehearsal for GS day 2. They both have essentially a 1 hour block to rehearse their segments. And then lastly, we'll land with another Q to Q. So I'll go up and hit copy and paste here. We'll say this is GS day 2's Q to Q, and then we're out. So this is the, wrap for the day. And that's going to happen at, after another 30 minutes here. Oops. And there you go. So we're done at 1 p.m. It's a very short day. Everybody loves it. It's awesome. Often they go till 10 p.m. You kind of get the idea here. And again, because it's a Q to Q, I would take that to be yellow. So let's say that we did all this work. We've kind of got the efforts around what does it take to sort of build our first day. Well, let's not do that twice. So I'm going to range select up by just holding shift and selecting. I'm going to hit the tick. I'm going to hit copy. And then I'm going to come down here and I'm going to paste that again. There we go. Very simply, now we just built out Wednesday. So then when I come in here and I change this to say Wednesday, I don't even want to spell it because I'm not good at that, 11th. And now you're iterating on top of that. Does that kind of make sense? Does anybody have any questions? Is this generally working and people understanding that? If you do, please ping us, and I'd love to kind of stop as we go around, go along.
Doesn't look like we have any questions yet.
Okay.
One quick thing too, if you had copied and pasted the James rehearsal,
yep.
Another great thing you can do in there is you can duplicate.
Yes.
So when you have things that are formatted, for instance, GSA1, it's got a global highlight and a font formatted text. You could just quickly duplicate that in that cogwheel,
Command D will do that.
Command D on a Mac, and then that will just duplicate that entire that entire item, and then you can move that around down below, whatever. So if you do have stuff already pre-built out, it makes it a little bit easier rather than just copy pasting text through. So
that's awesome. Yep.
Just a little.
Additional things to know about Shoflo. So one thing is in production schedules, we have these sort of times as an option for you. You don't have to use these, right? So up here in the upper left, if you're an admin, you can actually come in here and say, these are what we call utility columns, right? Show items, hide items, show description, hide start time. These are all options you can do to turn things on and off. So if I turn show item numbers on, we're all getting item numbers. Pretty great, pretty helpful. You can also say, I don't like the sort of approach that you guys are taking with time. I want a little bit more control in my own way. It's very simple to just sort of go, okay, well, hide the duration. And these are global. These are not personal things. These are all global. Hide your start time. And then maybe over here you're just saying start. And we see this happen quite a bit, actually. Then you just move that over on the left, and you could sort of define when you want to do things, etc. So all those are options. We built sort of schedules to be very interchangeable as you go through it. Okay, cool. Let's take a jump over to a different type of schedule, one that's a little bit more driven around your week at a glance, which is a really cool way. It's something, again, that our own customers shared with us on how they use schedule in their own shows. His name's John Allen. I think he works with CG Creative a lot and a lot of other customers. And for him, he was looking for a way to build out something that's a little bit more reflective of multiple days. And so we went ahead and actually just took it and brought it in as a Shoflo standard. So again, right here, schedules. If you click schedule and then use our templates right here, right, choose from template, and you choose week at a glance, then why not just call it that, week at a glance? And then you hit create show. There you go. So that's now sitting on your rundown right here. You hit view into it, and it's pretty epic, right? So as far as kind of what that looks like, what we're talking about here is more of that every column's being used to represent a day. And then we are using, I mean, really the only way we're able to do this is using a lot of our more recent features, which is not only just schedules, but also bulk color changing and font formatting, as well as copy and paste. But what he's doing here is he's showing multiple days going on at the exact same time. So if we even zoom in a little bit, you can kind of see that. Again, it's just another way to do it. I could build it from scratch, but I don't think we have enough time on this webinar. But what's nice is you can move that stuff around, right? So if you wanted to move this particular block up just a little bit, you do that, right? Hey, we're actually going to bring everybody in, you know, at 7 a.m. and then you'd of course want to get in there and change that a little bit. The benefit again of all this is it's real time, right? You don't have to update a bunch of people on what's going on. You don't have to send a new version. John Johnson over here, who's a totally different user, next time he goes out to his dashboard for this event, goes and checks, whoa, he's like, wow, I got a week at a glance. He gets in there, he's seeing the latest and greatest as it's happening or as the most recent changes he's possibly had. So that's going on there. The last thing I want to say on this sort of week at a glance is, again, it can be defined however you want. You can do different colors, you can do different, you know, whatever you need to do, right? So you come in here and change these colors to be really whatever you want. A shortcut, shift command, colon will just pop you through your different background colors, etc. And then one more thing to note in here is guest pass, right? We got about 9 minutes left here. Take you through the guest pass side of production schedule. So if I went over back into our production schedule, we're sitting here saying this is great. It's not just for my show crew. I want my vendors to see it. I want my venue to see it. I want etc. to see it. Client. Oh yeah, big time client. Being able to come up here in the upper right corner and choose the download option. Then you'll see something called guest pass. Guest pass is a URL that you can distribute to anyone you want, whether it's email, text, or whatever. And you do not have to be logged in to view what's going on here. So you can see that I'm just going to copy this and open it in a new tab. And there you go. This is a down and dirty view of what your production schedule is. No login required. Right? I could be doing this in an incognito window. Another bonus on top of that is if you were to actually go in, you can actually set which columns are going to be visible to them. So you could say, hey, I don't even want to show them the items or the notes column. So the next time they actually go to that page, they're only seeing specific columns. Obviously, we wouldn't want to do that. That gets rid of a little too much. But you get
chaos on the event.
Yes, exactly. But you can kind of get the idea there that being able to turn those things on and off is pretty key. That goes for everything as well too, right? So jumping over into that week at a glance, they're able to see that guest pass version of a week at a glance, which I know for a fact that we did a post-event review, which we like to do that with anyone on the call. If you guys have events coming up, we love to do post-event reviews, but I know for a fact guest pass was sent to their hotel for all the breakout management, and every single day over the course of I want to say 2 or 3 months, certainly the on-site days, the hotel would just go there. They just bookmark that URL, would go there, see the latest and greatest, and it just sort of it removed the whole going back through your email trying to find the latest version of a production schedule.
Yeah. One thing that's I think important to note about Guest Pass for those who haven't used the software and aren't familiar with it, Guest Pass is not real-time updates, so you do need to come in and it's a URL. They will need to either open it up, refresh the screen, click the little refresh button in the Guest Pass. They're not going to be able to leverage the things like real-time or show color tracking, which is a feature inside Shoflo as well. So, but it's still a great tool to share, show you the most up-to-date version. But it's just just to note, it's not real-time updates. So.
Yeah, good example of that. Just to make that here, I just added in a real-time edit. If anyone else was viewing this in real time, like John Johnson in Safari, I don't know where he went, but either way, he would see that in real time. If I went over to this guest pass, they're not seeing that.
Mm-hmm.
It's because they're not a logged in user. They don't have that direct connection with us to where they're receiving those updates. But next time they either refresh the page or if they just went to it later that day, now they're getting the latest.
Yeah, or if you sent out that link again and they clicked it, it's going to be the most up-to-date version. So.
Exactly right. All right, let's pause there real quick and swing over to docs. This is not a thorough overview of docs, but I like to always mention it. Anything you can't build in Shoflo, or if you have a particular production schedule or a thing that you love the way it looks, um, it's not that it can't fit in Shoflo. It's just that, maybe send it to us. We'd love to see how we can kind of adjust ours to get there for you. But at the end of the day, you can always just drag and drop in PDFs, XLSs, everything like that. The spirit of Shoflo is really to have this entire event be your digital show book for your event. And so whether that's your show crew or some of the vendors or your client, they're coming to one place, they're getting the information that they need. So on the doc side, being able to come in here and get a CAD drawing, right, for your lighting designer, that's something you can't build in Shoflo, not yet at least. So you're going to want to drag and drop that in. Same idea with renderings of what a stage might look like. I say all to say we do see some people drag and drop in production schedules or some sort of unique view of a schedule that either they're not ready to try that out in Shoflo, but they do still want to get it in front of their crew, and that's how you would use docs for it. Mm-hmm. With that, why don't we do another poll, Johnny, at the very end here and kind of see how everyone's doing. What was our other poll? What is it? It's basically, oh yeah, how do you currently build your rundowns? That would be it. And more so specifically, how do you currently build your production schedules? It's going to be Excel, Google Sheets, you're using Shoflo, something else. Go ahead and take a second and fill out the poll for us. All right, 3, 2, 1. All right, close it. What do we got? Nice or not nice, depending on how you look at that. 100% using something else. So that's interesting, actually. I'd be curious if you guys are able to, or if you feel comfortable enough, drop it in the chat with us, what that else is. I've definitely seen production schedules get built in like InDesign before. I've seen them get built in some other things. Usually, though, it is Excel, Word, or Google Sheets or Shoflo. So that'd be interesting. All right, let's go ahead and close that. Well, I tell you what, just for respect on the time, I think that basically wraps it for us. I think the thing I'd love for as you're in Shoflo is anyone on this call and on this webinar, ping us afterwards or email John, John, at shoflo.tv, and we'll set you up with some production schedules in your next event. Or if you have like an upcoming event in the next week or two, or the next couple of days, and you want a sandbox account to sort of try Shoflo and maybe see what it likes to build Shoflo, or build a production schedule in Shoflo, ping us. We'll totally hook you up with that. Also, in addition to that, there is a extensive section on the left here if you're in Shoflo called Learn, and that will take you to an area where you can really find a lot more information out about all the different things you can do inside of Shoflo. And then lastly, if I move myself, down here in the bottom right, there's a blue chat. Ping us there anytime, and we'd be happy to set up a more personalized demonstration with you and talk about how we can, how we can bring your production schedule workflow into Shoflo, etc. But with that, we're going to go ahead and pause and just say thank you. Next week, we're going to dive specifically into timing and how we can save you a lot of it, but more so preset times, start times, how to manage that sort of auto time calculations, as well as overwriting existing time values. And then the big one that I'm excited about next week is we're going to open it up to a little bit of discussion, but we're going to be building out some stuff around more of like a broadcast approach, which is heavy and light. So what happens if you are in an element for 2 minutes and then you get out of it about 2 minutes early? What does that actually mean, and how do we ripple that forward? We're going to be building out some features on that, and we kind of want to invite some people into that process. So with that, I'm Steven, this is John, and yeah, thank you very much. Stick around if you have any questions. All right, so we've got a couple people stuck around afterwards. If you have a specific question, ask us in the chat right now, and we'll dial that in for you. What was the question?
So looks like we got a question. What are some best practices for global highlights?
Awesome. Good question. You talk about that one, Johnny. That one's up your alley.
Yeah, so the cool part about global highlights, obviously, or for anybody who hasn't used it before, are the ability to set those globally for everybody to see that specific highlight. So we've seen a lot of teams use, well, we've seen a variety of teams use it for different things. We've seen some events that use global highlights for every single item
Yep.
in the run of show or the rundown. Great use cases are for something like if you want to highlight, all videos are going to be green,
Yep.
or maybe if you have a lot of presenters, all keynotes are red. And those are great for visually making items stand out, and then also create that kind of streamlined approach to the run of show so that your different crew members who are part of different departments can know, all right, that red or that green global highlight is important to me specifically.
Yeah, I would say we've seen, it's funny actually, there was a rugby team that highlighted every single element. I mean, every element. And at first it's sort of like that, you think that's a little much, but the crew loved it because as they were going through element by element, they knew they were here, right? So they would use tracking, right, which is more of that show color role, being able to come in and actually click track item. This is the element I'm in. They would know that it's green, which means green might have meant iMac. But then they'd also know a purple's coming up, and purple means video roll. And that just sense of visual identity around what I'm in, and what's upcoming was huge for them. And so we've seen that applied a lot. Yeah, to what Johnny was saying, it's usually just video rolls, live shots, if that's a specialty thing. If it's a regular thing throughout your whole show, then you probably wouldn't do that. And then I would say the other big one I've seen it around is like specialty things, like an interview, like an impromptu interview, and like a house pickup, things like that. Something that's really not your standard, and you want to sort of emphasize that up and above. And as far as like how you actually implement that, on the left side, row edit menu, you got the globe for the global highlight, and then you got the personal, which is just something that you see only you. So yeah, that's probably how I've seen most of. Outside of that, it's just color coding, preference, totally subjective.
Doesn't look like we have any other questions.
Okay, cool.
Obviously, if you guys have any more, feel free to reach out to us either in that in-app chat or on our marketing site. We have a little chat in the bottom right, or email us. My email, john@shoflo.tv, or you can email info@shoflo as well. But yeah, I think that about.
That's got it. Yep. All right. Well, I appreciate everybody, and we'll tune in again next Thursday at 1 p.m. Eastern. Appreciate it. Bye.
See ya.